Hey guys, welcome to today's podcast episode. Today we're joined with Jesse. Jesse, for people that may not know too much about yourself, who you are, what you do, could you just give us a quick intro, like who you are? You have such a fascinating story and so many big lessons here. So I'm really excited to deep dive into that.
Thank you so very much for having me, sir. I really appreciate it. And good seeing you again after our last event in the UK. So to start off, basically living in Marbella, Spain, now for the last 3 years permanently. Traveled the world before that, did a lot of different entrepreneurial endeavors. In the last 10 to 12 years, a lot of people know me from different things, whether it was my failed coffee shop, whether it was my successful multi-billion dollar e-com business, or whether it was TV, traveling the world, social media, which I really went all in on like now 11 years ago. There's different avenues that people could have met me throughout this journey, and now basically throughout these years I landed in real estate. I started investing in real estate, and that has always sticked. That has always been my output and my input at the same time, like investing and selling and helping other people kind of like with that as well. And then I realized that I was pretty good at it. I was very getting a good understanding of the market, of walking the talk, as I like to say. And a lot of what I see is when I came to, as an example, Costa del Sol, which is where I'm now, southern Spain, I realized that the agents here weren't necessarily walking that talk, and I felt that it was necessary to bring people like myself that have a real estate experience by buying and investing and selling to come down and do it here. And that's also where I started my agency directly, because I wanted to live here permanently. And I felt like I needed to start my own agency. And it was a very interesting journey, and that's now 3 years ago. So from an investor, basically, because of a dire need, even though you have so many, I didn't feel represented. And a lot of clients with me, and that's, I think, why we succeeded so well. Because very easily you can win when you treat people well and when you listen to people and what they need. And you basically actually help people and then ask the questions about commission later. But everybody here asked the question about commission first. That's the difference.
Funny you say that, because from your talk, for people listening now, that was one of my biggest lessons from yourself, is how much of a people first person you are, and how how much easy it is to win doing that. And it's like as a young 5 years ago, I think, when I was first getting into business and social media, I wasn't really seeing much of that kind of message and content. It was all about numbers and dials and stuff like that. So your perspective really resonates on that level. And it's one big question I actually had on this is, you first went to Spain to buy a property, you mentioned, and moved there. Was you always kind of this person where it's like, okay, I don't feel represented here, rather than kind of like waiting to be represented, I'll just take action and build something that aligns with me? Because I feel like, myself included, it's easy to procrastinate on things like this, and it's easy to just say, oh, I'm not that type of person, I haven't got the skills, I haven't got the knowledge to actually go out and do this thing, for example.
So what made me come here was two things. Number one, quality of life, making sure that I feel that I, besides all the other things that are here and the network, that I feel home. And I didn't feel home where I was. Hence why I was traveling so much, because I was kind of like finding my grounding, where I was going to land, where I was going to have my family. And there was like a top three. Number one, it was Hawaii. and then number 2 it was Colombia, and then number 3 it was this place. And this place in the end became number 1 because of all the factors, like being close to home, being able to have the best sun throughout the year, 320 days of sunshine, climate, wealth, network, etc. Certainly not the taxes. That's not the reason why I'm here. But and for all the Christians or believers that are listening, I think also when you see a lot of the prophets, they actually talk about leaving your hometown for a reason. Whether that's a good or bad thing, you're going to find out later on, but it's going to be a good thing for you in the end. And the reason why that is has everything to do with when you expand your horizon, literally, you're going to also expand your way of thinking, your neurons, your hormones, your intellect, the connections you make, and also see the opportunity that's out there elsewhere. If you're always in your hometown, you're never going to have people around you or see the potential that you might have or want to grasp. So I encourage anybody that's young to actually do that travel. Like a big part, I would, it's maybe an unpopular opinion, but 50% of my net worth back when I was in my early 20s that I generated through econ was investing back in travel because it was extremely rewarding. Not in a sense of enjoyment and hedonistic endeavors, but because I was actually experiencing different cultures and different things I would have never, ever experienced in my life otherwise. It wasn't certainly in school. So at the same time, you want to be in a place that encourages people like yourself, like that want to get out there and build a business or be a better self. And that sometimes in our hometowns is frowned upon. Like, just be normal, you're already crazy enough or whatever. Like, what is he thinking he's gonna do? Like, or just get this whatever framework they set out, you gotta have to kind of comply with that. That's how you're gonna be. And so sometimes you have to leave your hometown. The Bible describes this, the other religious scriptures describe this very well, and there's a reason that I just also emphasized. And look at the reason why I'm here and how I was able to build my business. It's certainly not because all the cards are aligned or because you come into this country and I did all my research and I know exactly how it was going to go. Absolutely not. I put all my money in real estate. I put all my money in the business here, and there were, especially the first few months, that it felt very scary and lonely. And I was like, whoa, what if I'm not going to make it? Because I kind of took a big leap of faith. Then actually it took off and people started to really appreciate the personalized approach and the help because it was so unique, the way we were treating people. So yeah, we got rewarded.
And where did the leap of faith and faith in general, where did that come from in terms of trust in that the real estate business, for example, would work out? Because it sounds like it was a big risk at the time, potentially, or...
It certainly was, because when you leave your hometown, so to say, and you're actually going to establish, you're going to come into a place where there's new rules and regulations, a new tax system, which was already always very difficult to kind of like understand as an entrepreneur. So you come into a new system, literally, and a lot of unfamiliar things, culturally as well. So this was a very difficult shift, because once you actually permanently start to live somewhere, you're actually going to start to feel it. And you're like, oh, wow, okay, take a deep breath. Let's keep going. Like the speed of things, for example, when I was in Dubai, you get everything right now. And of course, and then when I'm here, it's like mañana, as we say, right? Tomorrow or the next day, you got to be patient. So when you don't accept this reality, you can drive yourself absolutely crazy. So it was a very interesting journey of self-discovery and also having my family here. And that I believe is with faith, right? What does that mean? Like, you need to have a sense of faith and belief in God and yourself that it will be good, and you gotta trust in that process while keep going, and then things, slowly but surely. That's another problem I see it in today's society. Everybody wants everything now, and that's they don't want to build, and you can't. It's gonna good things take time. You need to make sure that you build a building block of layers and foundation as an entrepreneur. The self, business, everything else will follow. But you cannot expect to exponentially grow. I mean, of course, there's a few lucky crypto millionaires out there, but it's rare. You cannot be looking at that and thinking like that's going to be you next. And it breaks my heart every single time, because I feel that a lot of folks, they want to actually be an entrepreneur really bad, but they don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the self-development. They don't want to embrace all of it. And this is, I mean, there's enough rich kids out there. There's enough of them here. Like, we in like 5 minutes away from Ben Havis, which is one of the richest municipalities in Europe. So there's enough of that. But do they have the grit? Do they have the you can smell it. You can, you know what I mean? You sense it. When you see somebody that didn't go through the struggle, that didn't have to fight, like, you're gonna sense that. So, and they so that's another thing, like, money alone is not, it's only going to amplify who you already are. That's the bitter truth. And that's why you got rich assholes and really cool rich people. They're actually awesome people, and you can smell it if they are real and they went through something. You know what I mean? So this is a very important conversation where I think we also lost track of in society a little bit. We don't look at with social media as much as, like, who is the person behind the money? Let's get to know this person. And this was very important for me when I made that shift with my life, to treat everybody very equally as much as I can, because I'm also biased. I'm also trying to not be an arrogant jerk or like implicitly treat people differently. So you have to be conscious of that as a Christian man, and also make sure that you have legitimate and honest and good conversations for people that help and benefit them, and not only yourself.
Yeah, and I can relate to that so much. Myself personally as well, and I'm sure a lot of people here, like, listening as well, because I remember first getting into, like, business. I'm 26 now, so let's say 17, 18, so like maybe nearly 10 years ago, and I'd look at social media, I'd look at, like, these things, and I'd feel like I'm super behind because I've seen everyone else posting their wins. Yeah. And I think that can sometimes throw you off track. But for you, Jesse, like, one thing I really, like, admire, and I really kind of love the way you do things, is it's like you mentioned, it's very people-centered, it's very grounded in the moment. And even just this conversation so far, you come across like you're very balanced. You don't get too carried away with the highs or the lows. You stay very neutral. And you touched on, like, self-actualization like a little bit earlier. Like, what were you always like this? Were you always quite kind of grounded in the moment, or how did you kind of, or if not, how did you kind of get to a place where you seem very kind of, very present, very in the moment,
It's a very good question. Have I always been like that? Certainly not. However, I always had people say to me, "You're an old soul." and that has been something that's been consistent in my life. And where that comes from is an an early childhood where you were forced to grow up fast. That's the reality of where you see a lot of young people grow up very fast and be very mature, very young, because they have no other choice. So raised by a single mother. So I had, when I was like 16, 17, I kind of like made the choice to go to military. On top of that, like I did that. And after that, I felt that I needed to work for myself. And from that moment on, 17, 18, and kind of like wasn't living at home anymore. So then you are out there in the big world and you're gonna kind of like figure it out, you know? So you get to learn people, you get to see perspectives, and more so than when I went to university to study psychology, it was the travel that genuinely developed the perception of balance, as you like to call it. And every day that's an internal battle because there's so many like external factors to take you off balance, right? So what is truly valuable for you? I know a lot of people very, very balanced, more balanced than me. They are, like not entirely focused on hitting targets and KPIs and all that stuff. They are focused on how am I living a good life and how can I sustain it and how can I have peace of mind. And that is not talked about. So I think I'm not the epitome of balance. I think that I am very different from most entrepreneurs. And I'm very happy and content with that because I don't want to be like what's now the narrative of entrepreneur, Lamborghini Urus kind of guy. This is like, you know what I mean? Just not me. I'm a people guy. And I will probably be that for, until the day I die, to be honest with you, because this is what makes me fulfilled. And whether I made my first million or my second, it's not so much that fulfilled me. It's genuinely the people that are next to me, and now with my family, with my son, it's really what it's all about. It's all, So it's again, I encourage people that are young or your age, and we are 6 years apart. I was 26. I was probably in Mykonos or Greece somewhere, or I don't know what I was doing, but like, I encourage you to do that, really, because it's not about you now. Of course, all the investments you can make and all the things that you can do with your money. I think this probably is the best one you can make because it truly develops your sense of self and also where you want. Yeah.
What would you say, and this might be an interesting one, like you mentioned like family, you've kind of grown a lot since the kind of military time and kind of going into living on your own, like what would you say your kind of day-to-day maybe focuses, routines maybe were when you were first starting your business, when you're first on that kind of climb towards hitting or getting to your first million, towards has it changed much in terms of what you do, what you spend your time on, like, and I guess your kind of daily habits, your daily structures?
So my routine back then was a lot more structured because I was alone. So I had just a girlfriend or whatever, and I was able to, wake up when I want to go to the gym, do my. So this was a very nice life. I didn't have to basically show up for anybody except myself every single day. So that was a very beautiful time. Now I got to show up for my family. Now I got responsibilities. Now I got to show up for my team. Now, like, a lot of people like call me or expect me to have answers all the time. So your routine depends a lot of how you structure your life. And if you are in a position where you are alone, where you're living by yourself, then 100% grasp that opportunity to fully self-discover and see what you want and put a routine together that benefits you and the people around you as much as you can. And I'm not going to say what that routine should be. My routine was whatever felt good for me in that moment, which was not waking up at 6 a.m. and going to the gym right after. It was most likely realistically waking up at 8, fasting throughout the mornings. I did a lot of fasting. Probably my first workout in 12:1, good time. And then afterwards, somewhere at the end of the day, eating my first meal. And then I like to probably, do a lot of deep work and work in the evenings up until 10 or 11, which I was able to do, or 12 even. And for some people, they would say the opposite. They say, hey, listen, I'm a morning person. And whatever person you are depends on how you structure your day. But this was kind of like my routine, like one meal a day kind of guy. Because right now, as an example, I eat 3 times a day, 4 times, or here and there, meeting for coffee. That's a lot of hours, but that's part of my work, right? Meetings and at the beach and at the here and so it's a different kind of life here. So it's very normalized to have meetings not in an office, but at the beach. You have a little gambas piu piu, or you have a little sangria, whatever, while you're discussing business. So this is what I love. This is what I really, really like about being here. And that's also why in every single study, the Mediterranean lifestyle and diet comes out as number 1. Because it's not healthy to be in a box the whole day. It's going to mess with your health. It's going to mess with your productivity. I have people that are now in the UK that lived here, or they want to come back here. They tested themselves. They say, my testosterone is lower. My hormone levels have dropped ever since I got back to the UK. Why is that? Okay, of course, sun, number 1. Okay, get it. But what else? Oh, it's also the lifestyle. So actually having a little bit more balance here and a little bit more like breathing room helps us. Oh, wow. Okay. So this is another thing that you got to be looking into. And the only way to discover that for you is to come down here, experience it, and see if this is for you. And that's always why I say to some people that haven't, first come rent here. We have now my good friend Josh Thomas, right, which we talked about, like great guy who was started out as a student, now a master of the game, and learning a lot from him now myself. Great guy. Actually going to buy with us. He's going to buy a property with us in the future. He's going to probably have second residency here. But first he will rent. I recommend him. So, this is, basically it.
And like you say as well, there's so much that comes from, like you say, just being able to be more creative and actually travel and try different things out and try different routines. Whereas I relate to that so much. Whereas if you're just stuck in the same place, in the same kind of place you went to school to and stuff like that, you almost don't see any other way out of it. You don't see what other people are doing. You don't see another way of life. It's not until you kind of step out of that you can actually kind of start to let go. For me anyway, it was like start to let go of all these childhood beliefs, all of this kind of fear of rejection or fear of being judged. That only came for me when I was able to kind of step away for a while and just kind of find that kind of thing for me, which helped a lot. One topic that a lot of people here listening would find very valuable is you touched on this in the start, is you've gone all in on social media for the last 10, 11 years or so. Like what has that looked like? Because I know you've built up a huge audience across your various channels and platforms, but like what made you go all in, and what's allowed you to see such success on that side of things?
Well, I think that the leverage of social media definitely has helped in the beginning of my career. And to be fair, right now, when you get into a luxury bubble, or when you get into something as delicate as helping people with a property purchase, which are generally big purchases, and by the way, it's not just multi-million dollar listings, it's also people buying for £300,000 or whatever, right? It's different kind of people, but still it's a big investment. So that kind of pull, a big misconception people make is that a lot of that traffic is being driven from social media. It's actually not true. A lot of people have interest from social media, 100%. But the actual buyers and the people that are actually genuine are the people in your direct network, right? They trust you with this process. Somebody that meets you through social media might be the first, approach of like, hey, I'm interested. But the people that are, hey, I refer you to this person is really the where you want to go in this specific business, right? Yeah. And we're generating a lot of organic leads through the brand, through basically who we are. And
Yeah.
not because of how many followers I have.
So it's almost
Nobody
that,
cares. Yeah, I mean, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people to think that the amount of followers you have equates to how many sales you're going to make. It's just not the way it works. There's so much BS in this industry where, of course, like, you're going to have some social authority, you're going to have some social presence, you're going to generate some leads, but you're not going to directly generate more sales just because you have a higher following. There's too many factors that come into play. However, what is very important is building a personal brand and name for yourself. Whether that's you're still a small fish or a big fish, it's equally important. If you come in as a big fish, you come in here or you come in any pool, you're still going to prove yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be eating like big guys like me. We're just going to, like that. That's what it is. And this is also why you had my attention, because you stood out in your own way very differently from everybody else.
Yeah.
So that kind of like resonates with other people, and they connect to you, and then, you kind of like can help them find what they're looking for. I'm not for everybody. You're not for everybody, and that's okay, right? We're living in a world right now, especially in sales, where we think we need to close everybody. You want to close the people that you can actually help, because you don't have to force a close when that person can be helped because of you. It will happen because all you need to do is bridge that help to the person that needs it. So if you fail to do that, I don't know if that's really helping somebody. It might be helping your pockets. Yeah.
Yeah. And it almost, to me, it sounds like what you mentioned here is, it's like the biggest thing with socials and sales is almost like one of the biggest mistakes, like you mentioned, is like actually trying to please everyone and just trying to kind of, like you say, even go famous just for the sake of, or get followers for the sake of it. But if you're not doing it for the right reason, it's absolutely pointless. Like, you're just trying to get followers. If they're not people that would, you can post anything and you might get followers, but if they're not stuff that will help your business, for example, it's just...
I actually, if I was, some people asked me the other day, like, what would you like to do as well still? Like, if you didn't have your business and stuff. I actually probably argue if I was 24, I would probably do those prank videos, man. Like, like they are hilarious. Like I just saw one that's absolutely going viral, like a young guy, and he's standing in a supermarket. And by the way, he makes money. He makes a lot of money with those videos. It's a misconception people have. He actually gets a lot of traffic and monetizes those videos like crazy on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram. And he shouts in one end of the store, and then he has a friend who shouts. Have you seen it? And he shouts to the other end of the store. And then like there's people confused and kind of like figuring out who's shouting, like, the staff of the store. And it's hilarious. And it becomes this whole like puzzle where, security is trying to find the guy. And it's stupidity, but it's so funny and it's so entertaining. And there's so much opportunity on social. Like, whether you want to be a prankster, whether you want to be the entrepreneur guru, and then of course, so many of them buy my course, buy my this, buy my that. Okay, fantastic. But there's a lot of that already. So do you have the authority to sell that already? Right? Because a lot of them don't. And they're already, before providing value, there's already a catch.
Yeah, and it's like you mentioned as well there as well. It's I've literally been thinking such a similar thing as well. It's like if I didn't have what was going on, the prank stuff, it'd be such a good like self-development thing as well, of like getting more confident and doing it.
Oh yes, I mean that's what I mean. Like, also a lot of that self-development is like kind of like figuring out what is your path. Like you don't have to do the same. Like we know a lot of fitness coaches, right? So, but just because we know a lot of fitness coaches, is that what we have to like be and like Emily? No, or we have a lot of lawyers in our family, so I should be a lawyer. No, what do I really want? What makes me happy? What makes me wake up in the morning and be like, damn, I'm excited. There are a lot of guys, Jesse, I want to be like you. I want to be in real estate. I'm like, do you actually want to be in real estate? Do you know the stress that comes with it? Do you like, you know what I mean? Do you know like you gotta really like make a lot of hours? The disappointment that can come with it? Like, so figure all that out.
One thing on that as well, like it'll be interesting to hear your perspective. Is like I've had periods like that in my life where I've been like, I see something on social media, and I'd be like, for the first 30 minutes or for the first hour, I'd kind of get carried away of trying to emulate and be like, oh, I wish I could do that. And then afterwards, like, actually, hold on, if I just focus on being a bit further ahead than I am, I'll probably be fine, and I just need to remove that. And it almost sounds like what you're doing is it's very much towards like just being better and just enjoying the journey, as opposed to trying to emulate or trying to copy someone that you just see with a rented Ferrari or like on a holiday in Dubai, whatever it might be, and trying to replicate and emulate an illusion as such.
Exactly. Yeah. It's and then, by the way, you're saying what a lot of other people are saying. Yeah? Like you're speaking now a truth that's for many. They're watching that and they're not understanding this. This is why it's so important for me to do this long form kind of podcasting, because I want people to get the context of why I traveled and why you see that highlight reel on my social. It's not just to show off, but to show people that this is my life and this is why I'm here. And this is why you could move here. And that doesn't have to be this place. But know that the quality of life depends on where you are and the choices that you make in life. And in the end, I think we strive for the same. We strive for that fulfills us. And that quality and that perspective is different for everybody else. I was very happy, Plowman, when I was 24, 25, 26, 27. When I was traveling or when I was just alone, like no responsibilities. I had enough money. I could get a coffee and just do nothing the rest of the day. Sales targets? What? Nothing. Like, no. I was walking through the parks of Amsterdam or in the jungle of Colombia doing ayahuasca, and I couldn't give two shits about anybody. So I had different girlfriends, which, by the way, they knew about it. But like, I was having the time of my life. And of course, also sometimes not, because that backfired. Because in the end, I woke up and I realized I was away from God. I was unfulfilled. That wasn't the path. But the only way for me to figure that out was to live it and to go through it. And now I'm here. Now I realize with my family and being here, this is what it was all about. Damn. Yeah.
And it's like it's almost like the failures and the screw ups as such in hindsight. Like it's not even screw ups, but like the mistakes as such, quote unquote, or the issues, for example, was what led you to here. And it's like it's so refreshing to hear, that perspective from, your journey in terms of you're walking a walk, you're doing these things, but it's like with hindsight, you're like, step by step, and it's kind of not being afraid to make the mistakes, which I'm really picking up. Jesse, I'm mindful of your time, so we have two final questions to wrap up on, and one we always wrap up on here with the podcast is your journey so far. You've been through so much, through the pain, from a childhood perspective to figuring stuff out. If you could go back in time to a younger version of yourself, what would be the one biggest piece of advice or lesson or conversation you'd have with that version?
It's a very good question. I would 100%, every single time I would say, to build a better relationship, closer relationship with God. I think a lot of the self-discovery, a lot of the path to travel, to having senseless sex with women and hedonistic pleasures could have been avoided by a closer relationship with God. Because the moment I actually realized all of this was like fluff and not really meaningful, I also understood and got to the truth a lot quicker. And the truth will set you actually free. Travel, none of the life's luxuries or anything or money will not give you that truth. It will only amplify the emptiness of life if you're in a life that is far away from God. So I encourage anybody to find God, to be close to God, and also ask Him for His guidance. And He will be there, and He will provide that for you. And that will be my biggest takeaway.
Amazing. Jesse, where can people find you from this conversation?
Yeah, so thank you very much for having me, and we will do a part 2 eventually. I hope to see you at the good side at some point. People can find me at Jesse Meester on Instagram. And of course, if there's any property inquiries, me or my team, happy to help you with rent, buy, or sell. Anywhere, whatever budget, you let us know. And we will get back to you at meesterestate.com. That is MEESTER estate.com. And we will take care of people. Thank you very much.
Amazing. The relevant links for that as well, like the Instagram and the real estate, will be in the description of the video. Jesse, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, my friend. All the best. We'll be in touch.